Welcome back. Now we're going to cover the for loop. The for loop is hands down the most beautiful feature of C++.
Or any programming language for that
yeah,
matter.
Definitely.
Yeah. So let's talk about the for loop. What makes it different?
Okay, the thing that's kind of different than the while loop is the for loop. You have three properties. You have the initial value of a variable.
Mm-hmm.
You have
the condition
itself, and how the variable increments each time you pass through the loop.
Or decrements, or anything else for that matter.
Or changes, yeah.
So let's just do a simple for, and the for has these two, and just like anything else, it will either execute the line below it, or we can block it off.
Right.
So for, and then why don't we can actually initialize variables in this.
Yeah.
And this is where the concept of scope comes in, even though we haven't really talked about scope yet. When we initialize a variable inside here, like let's do int I equals 0, and then we can do, and then we'll do a semicolon, and then next is the condition. So while I is less than 10, semicolon, I plus plus. The great thing about the for loop is this variable I only exists right here.
Right.
Watch
so
this.
So if we try to use I somewhere else,
int I equals 5. Semicolon. Let's run this real quick. And we'll do, I don't know, 4. It doesn't yell at you and saying I exists.
Right.
Because these are in two different scopes. I just wanted to bring that up.
Right.
Because that's important. We'll talk about scopes later. So, we're starting at 0. We're going until it is less than 10. And then after this executes, it does this, right? So just to show how the for loop works, let's just do a simple cout. Cout I. So it's going to initialize I to 0. It's going to write this, and then it's going to check. Is it less than 10? If yes, increment, and then do it again. If no, get out.
So you kind of think of this as like a while loop with a counter all built into the function.
Yes. So let's run this. Nice.
Beautiful.
Very nice. Went from 0 to 10. Alright, so now that we've demonstrated a very simple one, very simple for loop, and I'm pretty sure you guys are used to the concept of loops at this point, let's do something useful. Let's look at another operator, the mod operator. So why don't we do this? Let's go from 0 to 20, so we'll change 10 to 20, and we're going to print to the screen every even number.
Okay.
So within this for loop, we're going to have an if statement. If I mod 2 equals 0. Cout I end line. So
now, maybe just for pretty sake, we'll also put I mod 2 in parentheses as well.
We could do that.
It's not necessary, but just to kind of keep things clean.
Well, yeah, that way, order of operations will do this first, even though it'll do this before the equals always, but, we can do that. So, basically the mod operator is the remainder, so we're saying if there is no remainder, that means it's divisible by 2. If there is a remainder, then it's not divisible by 2.
And so the modulus operator itself is the percent sign.
Right, the percent sign, which we all know is shift 5. So press F9.
Only shows the even numbers.
Yeah. I guess 0 could be considered an even number.
Yeah.
Because 0 divided by 2 is 0.
Right.
Yeah. Pretty neat.
Yeah.
What if we want the inverse? Not equal to 0.
And we get all the odds.
Perfect. Beautiful little program, huh?
Yeah.
Let's do something cool. 3 equals. So now we should get every
number that's divisible by 3 cleanly.
Yes. 3, 6, 9, 12. So we can make our own little multiplication table if we want to.
Right.
Okay, so that's the basic of a for loop. Is there anything else that you want to add? Why don't we add something in here that we didn't talk about in the other loops? And this is breaking out of a loop. Aha! So, you can use this in any one of the loops that we have. Once, and we already looked at the break command when we did switch. So we kind of know how it works a little bit. Once the loop sees break, it breaks out of one level of the loop. By one level, I mean, we could have another for loop in here. Int I equals 0. We could do that, but just to make things a little bit prettier and clean,
Let's use j.
j. Int j equals 0. What do we want to do in here? While j is less than 10 j plus plus. So by one level of the loop, that means one level of the loop is this one. Would be this. So if we had a break statement in here, it would jump out of this and it would continue back to this.
Right.
So let's just do a simple example. Before we enter j, the j loop, cout I, end line. And then here, we'll do cout j, and then if j equals 2, break. So when j equals 2, it's going to break out of this, and it will continue back to this. So we'll do F9. And it concatenates everything all together because I didn't do a line break.
Right, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool little pattern thing
Yeah.
there. So let me erase this other loop here. Cout I. We can do if I equals 10, break. F9. So when it equals 10, it gets out of there.
Right. Now, if we also want to show, like before we showed only the odd numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say if I mod 2
If I mod 2
equals 0,
equals 0,
we'll break.
okay.
Now we want to put that if statement.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay,
Not
so
again.
so right off the bat, it prints 0. I mod 2 equals 0. 0 mod 2 is 0, so it breaks. So what we want to do is we want to change this break to a continue.
Okay.
So what continue does, it's similar to break, it just kind of jumps to the next iteration of the loop. So let's
Okay.
change break to continue. And also, let's put the cout line below the if statement.
Getting a little bit jumpy here. All right.
So now, this should say, if it's an even number, we'll continue, we'll jump back to the next,
Iteration of the loop.
right?
So we
And
should print out the odd numbers?
it should.
F9. Ah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so once it hits this little command continue, it goes right back to this.
Right.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to add?
That's about it.
All right.